Welcome back to Two Guys Kitchen. Today we're going to be doing seasoning the cast iron pan. So here we go. Welcome back to Two Guys Kitchen. Today we're going to do something that we've gotten a lot of questions about, and that's the fact that we use the cast iron pans, and our pans always look so well seasoned. Matter of fact, we were accused of hitting them with oil just before showing them, and that's not really true. They're just well seasoned. Today what we're going to do is take a pan that has been neglected for quite some time, and we're going to season it. We're going to show you the steps to seasoning it. It's a very simple process. There's a lot more complicated ways to do it. It's just the way that I do it, and the best thing that can happen is once it's seasoned, use that pan a lot. The more you cook in the pan, the better the seasoning. To start the seasoning process, we're going to use just a little bit of water. And although water is the enemy of cast iron, we use it just so that we can look at the condition of the pan before we season it. So we're just going to put a drop or two in there. That's maybe a heavy drop, but now we spread around. And what you can see is that there's areas that have no seasoning whatsoever. It's been removed over time. There's a few rust spots. Now what we have to do is let that dry a little bit. Okay, the second step is to take some canola oil, just a few squirts of it. And we now spread the canola oil around. And we're going to use a little bit of salt. And what that's going to do is act as almost like sandpaper, but I'd rather use salt on my pans than use sandpaper. And what that does is it smooths out the bottom and basically gets the pan ready for the seasoning. Now it takes a little bit of time to do this. All right, we've cleaned the salt out. Now we're going to have to put a light coat of the canola oil . And we're going to rub that in. We have to get it up around the edges because there was rust in that area also. This pan was fairly pitted, and we've got some destructive parts here that hopefully the seasoning will fill in eventually. Okay, let's put it on the stove and heat it up. Put it on high, and as it starts to warm up, it'll get to a point where it's actually beginning to smoke. When that happens, we pull it off and we put some more canola oil on it. You have to be real careful during this process because that will heat up very, very quickly. Okay, we've got a second coat on there, and I'm going to get a mitt because now we're dealing with something that's getting pretty hot. There's the smoke starting to come up again. What that's doing is melting the oil right into the pan, filling the crevices up. Now we'll pull it off again. Put some more canola oil in there. And now we'll let this pan cool down for a little bit. The pan itself has the first coating now. When it cools down, it should make a flat surface. It's getting really hot, and then as it cools, it should be shrinking a little bit and making a smoother surface. We're going to do that maybe 2 more times, and then after that, the next thing we do is cook in the pan. And from now on, the idea is use the pan quite often, cook in it. That's how the pan really gets seasoned. The true seasoning takes place after you've used it. We've got the stove turned down because the pan is still plenty hot. We're going to put a little bit more canola oil on. And you can see the smoke is still coming off, and this pan has been off for several minutes. Now we're going to rub it around. We're not trying to remove the oil. What we're trying to do is get a nice smooth coating. Now we're just going to let the pan sit there on the burner and the ambient heat of the pan and the burner, and just let that continue to heat the oil that we've already given it. Okay, we set the cast iron inside of the oven. We set the oven at 350 degrees and we let it bake for about a half an hour. Now what we're going to do is wipe up what's in there and put another coating on and just let that melt into it, and then we're done. Oh, that's beautiful. Nice coating on there. Very little of the oil lifted and came onto the paper towel, which indicates that this coating, even though it looks wet, is actually set up a nice seasoning on the bottom of that pan. Okay, now we're putting a light coating on, just as a, more or less what they say is it's a dressing. And that's what you're going to wipe down and you're going to leave on the pan when you store the pan. Right now, she's looking beautiful, and it took us probably 45 minutes total, including a half hour while it was inside the oven at 350 degrees. It's a beautiful seasoning. We've brought a pan back to life.